Hey, SKAITUBERS, how are you doing? We're going to talk a little bit about personal finance today and how to build wealth. So thank you for joining us. All right, guys. So first off, a little bit about me. 25 years in finance, former investment banker on Wall Street. Worked on a lot of things, M&As, IPOs, you name it. I kind of touched on it. Currently, I'm a financial advisor to high net worth business families, and I don't manage money or provide direct investment advice, but I do advise on everything else, company strategy. Most of my clients have family businesses, tax, estate, legacy planning, and asset protection. So, again, touch on a lot of different things in the finance world. I have an accounting major, undergraduate, and MBA from Columbia University in New York. And also, I'm certified in financial planning and I'm a certified private wealth advisor. When it comes to personal finance, this is the ultimate phrase. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. I'm going to say it again. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. You should repeat that to yourself in your head constantly because that's what it's all about. Now, you can make a ton of money, but you can blow it all. So what's the point of making a ton of money if you blow it all? You can make no money, conversely, and then there's nothing to keep at all. So it's pretty simple. It's what I call MSG. No, it's not the food additive that you love so much, although it can be just as addictive as that. It's called MSG, make, save, and grow. Make, save, and grow. That's the concept. You want to make your money, you want to save your money, and you want to grow your money. A lot of people forget the last one, the G, the grow. They kind of focus on making and saving, but growing is probably the most important part. This presentation is not going to be focused on making and saving. Many people focus on this, right? It's called budgeting, and you can probably find a good YouTube video on it. But seriously, folks, do you need me to tell you not to spend more than you make? I mean, that's pretty straightforward, right? Don't spend more than you can make. Pretty simple. And in terms of making money, get a job. Work on a side gig, right? Everyone's talking about the gig economy now. Lots of opportunities to do that. Or start a business. Find any opportunity you can to go out there and make your money. You have to seek it out. It doesn't come to you. But there are plenty and plenty of opportunities, especially as the world changes and as technology changes, especially for you guys, the Gen Zers. So how do we grow money? That's what we're going to be spending most of our time talking about today. And here is a life model you can build for yourself. You got some sort of job, you're working, you've got income, you're spending some of it. You're also saving some of it, right? You're saving some of it, putting it into that piggy bank. And what are you doing with that money? You're going to grow it. You're going to make it grow. You're going to invest it. And with the money that you make from it, you're going to reinvest it. And you're going to keep doing this. Benjamin Franklin said, money makes money. And that's the truth. Invest, reinvest, reinvest the reinvestment. And that is how it works, right? Now, I'm not the first one to say this. A lot of people, Warren Buffett, other pros have been saying this for a long time, this concept. So it's nothing new. But this quote unquote life model works. Figure out this life model for yourself, customize it, build it, find the work that you do that's going to bring an income, whether it's a part-time job if you're younger or your full-time job. Control your spending, have some savings, and then take that savings. And we're going to see in the next couple slides how to make that savings grow. Okay, we're going to talk about the power of compounding. Okay, and this is a very, very powerful, simple but powerful concept. So let's take an example. You have your Charles Schwab account, you got $1,000, you invest it in Apple Computer, right? Very simple. After year one, Apple Computer increases by 10%. The stock goes up 10%. So now your account is worth $1,000 plus $100, right? 10% of 1,000 is 100. So in the beginning of year two, you've got $1,100. Well, in year two, Apple goes up another 10%. So after that, in year three, you've got $1,210. And in year four, another 10%. And so you end up with $1,331, right? So 10% over 3 years on $1,000 is not 300, it's 331. Why? Because you've compounded your money. In other words, you've made money on your money. So from the year one, on the $100 you made, and in year two, you're making not just 10% on the original 1,000, you're also making 10% on the $100 that you made in year one. And same goes the theory in year three. You're making 10% of the original 1,000 plus the 100 in year one plus the 110 in year two. So you're making money on top of the money that you're making already. And that is the concept of compounding. Albert Einstein called this man's greatest invention, the eighth wonder of the world. There's no documented proof on that, by the way, but that's what everyone says. That's what's widely been, talked about. That's what Einstein said. And he was right. Now think if you added, right? Take our example and you're adding to that piggy bank each year. So instead of the 1,000 that keeps compounding at this 10% example, think of now every year you're adding another 1,000, right? Each year. So 1,000, now year two is 2,000, year three is 3,000, and etc. But you're compounding each of that 1,000 adding into each year. So that's a pretty powerful concept. When can compounding work against you guys? Well, if you haven't thought about it by now, it works the other way around too. If you've got credit card debt, that works against you, right? You owe the credit card company money, and they're charging you interest. Well, if you don't pay that, they're going to charge you interest on top of the interest. And by the way, that's why it's very profitable to be a credit card company, right? So in those cases, it can work against you. So don't have debt. Don't have debt. All right. Now here's a quick rule. We call it the rule of 72. And what is that? The rule of 72 says whatever your return is, your expected return, right? So let's go back to this, our example, it's 10%. How long will it take for me to double my money? Well, the rule of 72 says take 72 divided by 10. That's 7.2. It will take me 7.2 years to double my money if I'm getting a 10% return. And that's the rule of 72. Basically, take whatever return that you're getting or expect to get. 72 divided by that number is the number of years it will take to double your money. So you can use as a quick, handy rule of thumb to figure out how long it will take to double your money. If someone comes and says, hey, by the way, great investment, I can give you 15% return a year on this. Well, now you can figure out that it's going to take you X number of years to get that money doubled. Now let's move on to something called dollar cost averaging. Again, this is a very, very important concept. So here we have a chart that shows a stock, any stock, it doesn't have to be any company in particular, where we have price and time. So over a period of time, the stock price, as you see, goes up, goes down, goes back up. What we're going to do with dollar cost averaging is we're going to buy at regular intervals. So we're going to buy this stock at regular intervals, call it every month. We're not going to try to time the market. We're not going to try to time the market. Okay, so we're not going to look for opportunities to say, oh, the stock is cheap, let's buy it. We don't know if the stock is cheap, right? You don't have a crystal ball. So what dollar cost averaging, or DCA, does is it's buying a set amount of stock at each regular interval. And what this does is it lowers the risk. It reduces the cost basis over time by reducing buying mistakes, right? Because you could very well be buying a stock at its high. You just don't know. Again, no one has a crystal ball. So by spreading the buys out over a period of time on a regular basis, yes, you will be buying sometimes at a higher price, but you will also be buying sometimes at a lower price. And what it does is it basically spreads it out and averages it out. Let's take a look at a mathematical example, right? So you can see the chart here. Got 10 shares at $30. It goes down to $10. It jumps back up to $20. And each time, each of these monthly intervals we buy. In January, we buy 10 shares at 30. In February, we buy 30 shares at $10. In March, we buy 15 shares at 20, etc., etc. Right? Now, over these 5 months, we have bought a total of 87 shares, and we have spent a total of $1,500, which brings our average cost to $17 Now, we could have bought, that's the reason for that is because we bought different shares at different quantity of shares at different prices. If we bought the same quantity of shares at these different prices, our average cost would be $20, right? So the difference between the 20 and the 17 is, you can be a little more aggressive on the DCA concept, and you can say, well, if I know these shares are, lower, I'm going to buy a little bit more, right? And if you guys all remember, Warren Buffett said, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Well, here you go. That's the concept. But if you didn't do that and you just said, let me not worry about this, let me buy every month, January, February, March, April, May, the same amount, the same quantity of stock, let me just buy in. Well, you would have an average price of 20. That's still going to be a lower risk than, say, in February, in January, you thought, well, this stock's going to go even higher. So you loaded up shares on $30. Well, the stock drops. What are you going to do? So your average cost of the stock is going to be very high. So dollar cost averaging, or DCA, allows you to lower the risk and lower the cost basis of your purchases. So what happens when we combine these two concepts? Well, number one, we know that compounding increases return over time, right? You're investing, you're reinvesting, you're reinvesting the reinvestment. So that's going to give you a better return and a bigger return over time. We also know that dollar cost averaging lowers the risk of buying in at a high cost over time. So DCA, if executed consistently, will essentially lower your cost basis over time. So now we have what? We have compounding, which gives us more gains. We have dollar cost averaging, which lowers our cost. More gain, lower cost. Isn't that a recipe for building wealth, guys? I think it is. So how do we do this? How do we go about executing this game plan? Well, first of all, don't time the market. Keep that in mind. Don't time the market. Keep investing. Let DCA and compounding do its thing. Invest, reinvest, reinvest the reinvestment. Keep buying in on a regular basis, irrespective of the price, and let these two concepts work over time. So what should you buy? I think you should buy the S&P 500 index. And the S&P 500 index is essentially an index of the 500 largest companies listed on U.S. stock exchanges. It is buying the market, right? It's buying the overall market. And the reason for that is picking individual stocks. You can do that and deploy this strategy of compounding and dollar cost averaging, no problem. But picking an individual stock is simply riskier. It's just simply riskier because there is a possibility that stock may actually just not pan out how you think in the long term, right? It may not go up. It may go bankrupt at some time, let's say. So buying into the general market is a safer strategy to use with compounding and DCA. Some people call this passive investing. I call it active wealth building, right? And the S&P has always gone up. And I'm going to prove this to you in the next slide. So here's the performance of the S&P 500 since 1957. So for the last 63 years, the S&P 500 has gone up. It has gone up. Now, it hasn't always gone up every year. You can see this chart, right? There are some years where it's down. But my point here is that in the long run, the market has gone up. It has always gone up. It has gone up at approximately 10.34% a year, including dividends, right? So if you include dividends and you reinvest those dividends, it's gone up approximately over 10% a year, and your money has grown. $100 over the last 60-some years is now $54,000. So this is statistical evidence that the market grows, and it continues to grow. And that is why we talk about investing into the S&P 500 using the compounding and DCA approach. So how do I do this? How do I invest in the S&P 500? Well, first you open a brokerage account, right? If you're under 18, you probably have to open a custodial brokerage account, which means that your parents need to also sign on that account opening form. You can buy funds or you can buy ETFs, exchange traded funds. We're not going to get into that right now, but they're essentially tradable funds. And what these funds do is they essentially replicate the market, the price of the 500 basket of stocks. So think of it as buying one security that invests in all of the 500 stocks simultaneously, right? And that way, when you invest in that one security, whatever returns, plus or minus, is essentially the return of the stock market. Lots of robo-advisors now will automatically invest and reinvest for you. So you can kind of go on these platforms. You can set automations where they'll just continue to DCA every month for you. You can set $100, you can set $1,000. They'll just pull it from your bank account and put it into the market, buy the S&P every month on the 30th or 31st on a regular basis, and it's automated, right? Typical funds, the Schwab S&P 500 Index Fund, very popular one. Fidelity 500 Index Fund. If it's an ETF, that's what they call the SPDR S&P 500 ETF, SPY, very, very popular security that people buy in and out of every day. The Vanguard S&P 500 ETF is also a very, very well-known ETF. So in summary, what does it take to build wealth? Number one, money. You got to have money. If you don't have money, you can't build wealth. So build your life model first. Figure out what you're good at doing in terms of a job. Bring in that income, control your spending. Put some money in the piggy bank and start to deploy the strategy of compounding and DCA and grow that piggy bank. Number two is time. You need time. So these strategies need time to work. It's not a quick trade. It's not a get rich quick scheme. I hope I said that right. It takes time to grow your wealth. And this is the key. So start young, start really young as you can start, because compounding and DCA take time to work. Discipline, keep at it. Keep building your investment portfolio despite market ups and downs. Try not to, this sounds strange, but try not to pay too much attention to the market, as much attention as you are paying, because investing involves a lot of emotions. And so a lot of times you get down because you see the market down, but actually maybe it's a buying opportunity. That's why compounding and DCA are designed to help you make less mistakes, because it takes the emotion out of it. Have a game plan and stick with it, right? Careers change, life changes. This happens all the time, but stay on target with your investing game plan, right? And if you need to, adapt constantly. And lastly, but most importantly, be patient. All good things take time. Guys, thank you very much. I wish you all the best. I hope you build maximum wealth. Please feel free to DM me with any questions you might have or any comments, anything you want to discuss. Feel free to reach out. I'm always here. And happy hunting in the market.